Dual citizenship in Indonesia, will it ever become a reality? And 81 million millennials don't have a house. Stay tuned for details. Selamat siang. Welcome to the latest news from Bali in Indonesia. This is August 9th, 2023. And my name is Bruce. What is the weather like today? 29.7 degrees Celsius, 54% humidity, and wind speed 12.4 kilometers per hour. And it is another lovely day in Singaraja, in North Bali, in Buleleng, in Kampung Bugis, in my house. And I hope it's a lovely day wherever you are too. Okay, I got a lot of stuff today, and thank you for people that watched the wedding video and made comments. I appreciate it. I'm glad people found it interesting. Okay, let's get on to the first story. Brain drain. Calls mount for dual citizenship in Indonesia, and this has been going on for a long time. Indonesia has seen a wave of young people be 25 to 35 years old emigrating to Singapore, reaching almost 4,000 people in the period from 2019 to 2022. This is according to the General Director of Immigration. Last year, there was 1,091 new Singaporeans coming from Indonesia, yes, changing their citizenship, higher than around the 800 people in 2020. The news caused a stir on social media, with many Indonesians supporting those who seek better welfare and work opportunities abroad. But concerns about a brain drain also arise as the country's vision of becoming a developed nation by 2045, 100 years after independence, hinges on the skilled young people being the backbone of Indonesia's long-term development. And, well, apparently, too many of them are leaving the country for greener pastures. Amid the debate, calls for dual citizenship to be permitted in Indonesia have started to mount from advocacy groups and Indonesian citizens abroad. According to the 2006 citizenship law, Indonesia does not recognize dual citizenship except in the case of children who have one Indonesian parent and one non-Indonesian parent, and they can hold their dual citizenship up to 18, after which they have 3 years to register their preferred nationality. And if you're an American, boy, it is expensive to give up your nationality, as I found out. If there was dual citizenship, maybe it would be different. I had to let go of my Indonesian citizenship because the UK wages and living standards are much higher, according to one former Indonesian. And it seems that some young Indonesians see greener pastures in Singapore, for example, where wages are considerably higher. In the technology industry, much higher salaries compared to here. And this is according to an young Indonesian who worked at one of the top IT companies here, moved to Singapore. He said that if Indonesia had dual citizenship, it would be helpful for people like him and the country as well, he said. Why not? He said he can give back to Indonesia in numerous academic capacities while also working abroad. Support for dual citizenship also comes from the Indonesian Mixed Marriage Society, PERCA, which has been pushing for the government to facilitate children of mixed marriages with more options and, if possible, to keep both their nationalities. Still has not happened yet. According to the chairwoman, our strict citizenship laws alienate young people. It's like we're kicking them out ourselves. She said that they see many mixed children who prefer studying abroad with their foreign passport due to a high level of competitiveness in Indonesian public universities, as well as how expensive private ones are here in Indonesia. And that leads to many Indonesians to leave to study overseas for financial reasons. On Friday, the president himself called for awardees of the government's Education Endowment Fund to come home, even though, he said, the wages here might be lower and other countries' facilities might be nicer. The chairwoman said, if President Jokowi said that we need to maximize our human resources in 2045, then these children in the country's younger generation are the country's best bet, she said. So let's get with dual citizenship. But Discussion of dual citizenship rarely ever progresses from more than mere talk in Indonesia. Many say that there are downsides that can arise from dual citizenship. What kind of downsides? Dual citizenship could lead to people running away to Singapore so they don't have to pay taxes here. Meanwhile, white-collar criminals could also take refuge abroad, according to international law expert Juwana. He mentioned that dual citizenship option might lead people to become more opportunistic and have divided loyalties, a sentiment shared among many in the country. I've never understood this argument. We are a long way from 1965. The country's not battling the communist menace and supposedly with influence from China. If you want to go back and look at history, maybe we'll do a video on that sometime. So, divided loyalties what? People can have dual citizenship. They can be loyal to two different countries. Opportunistic. Don't we want our young people to be opportunistic in the sense of taking advantage of opportunities? If they can go overseas, get educated, develop some skills, come back here and share them in the country and help Indonesia progress to where they want to be in 2045, which is only another 22 years away. According to the professor, he believes that until Indonesia becomes prosperous and developed, the country will have a long way to go before allowing dual citizenship. The president once promised to raise the matter. That was 2015, after he had an audience with mixed marriage families in the U.S. But, of course, nothing came of it. In fact, the president himself discharged the former Energy and Mineral Resources Minister from his post in 2016 because he had dual nationality and it was revealed, and he said, sorry, you gotta go. However, ex-Indonesians who long to be able to give something back to Indonesia argue that this dual nationality people may have split loyalties, but so what? Some Indonesians consider dual citizenship because they're critical of countries like Singapore, where they go to make a living, because the high cost of living makes it harder for them to have a good retirement there. So they could go there during their working years and then come home and stay. Of course, you can do that with visas now, but if you've got dual citizenship, it makes it much easier. So dual citizenship may be talked about again, but I would not expect to see it anytime soon. And speaking of young people, according to SOE Minister Erick Thohir, 81 million millennials don't have housing, or they don't have a house. So the Indonesian Minister of State-Owned Enterprises, that's what SOE stands for, Erick Thohir, said many people, especially millennials, do not have a house. He made this statement while attending a mass contract signing of BTN housing loans. Director General for Housing at the Public Works and Housing, or PUPR Ministry, said 12.7 million families hope to have a home. Other data show that 81 million millennials, young people, don't have a home yet. Therefore, the minister expects all parties, including the government, SOE, state-owned house developer, Perumnas, and private parties to collaborate in supporting the government's program to create housing for the community. The minister also encouraged Perumnas to build vertical housing, considering Indonesia as an archipelagic country. One of the things we encourage them to do, he said, is to build integrated housing areas, not land, but multi-story housing complex. So not just single houses, but multi-story housing complex. And according to him, the residence complex can be equipped with several facilities such as sports venues, swimming pools, health clinics, and entertainment areas. Okay. And some places like that are being developed around the country. Director General for the PUPR Ministry, Pak Iwan, said that based on the 2020 to 2024 National Medium-Term Development Plan, the government is targeting to increase access to livable houses from 56% to 70% in 2024. And if you have some young people around the house, or they come to your house a lot, like I do, I've got 4 kids, right? It is difficult for young people to find housing. You know, wages are low here in Bali, even if you are trained and skilled. And housing, especially here in Bali, the cost goes up and up and up and up. And so it's difficult to find good places to live, especially if you're down in the major tourist areas and you work in that industry. So, for example, my son and my daughter-in-law looking for places to live now down there, nice places that are affordable. So that is one of the problems for young people today. And it's not just in Bali. I know I've talked to friends of mine in Australia say the same thing. I was talking to a friend from Perth the other day, said her kid's looking for housing, and it is so expensive in Perth. And of course, in the US, San Francisco, I couldn't afford to go back and live there. So this is a problem that is widespread. Korea, too. I've got friends in Korea. Wow. Housing in Seoul, crazy. And Tokyo, same thing. So, young people, sorry. I know it is not easy, and us old folks sometimes make fun of you for all the weird things you do, but this is one of the things I sympathize with. It is tough to get a place to live these days. Okay, and on to this story, and I generally don't talk about stories like this. They're just disturbing, but one of the things about this is people need to be aware, tourists need to be aware that they come here, that this is not paradise. This is just an island. It's a beautiful island, lovely people, a lot of great things here, but there's bad people here as well. Depraved, Brazilian tourist raped by Ojol driver in Bali. And this story has been all over social media, everywhere. An Ojol driver for Grab, from what I read in a different article, is suspected of raping a female tourist from Brazil. The Ojol driver, who is now known to the police, is being chased by them, and the police have asked him to give himself up and said there are some serious consequences if you don't, so think hot lead. There are currently teams from the Bali Regional Police and the Denpasar Police out tracking down this suspect. Police say that the man they're searching, initials from WD, from Bangsal Sari in Jember, is a driver, Ojol driver, or Ojol. The victim's a tourist from Brazil who's vacationing here in Bali, staying in a villa in the Jemberan area. The victim ordered an Ojol from Purikalapa Quest by Bukit Villa with the aim of going to another villa in Jimbaran. The order was taken by WD. During the trip, the victim was talked to continually by the driver, apparently to distract her so she didn't pay attention to the map to where they were going. The driver took her to an empty lot. At this point, he turned off the motorbike, told her to get off, and at that point, he tried to rape her. She fought back. She hit him with a water bottle and was able to run away, but he caught her. He slapped her around a number of times, apparently, as well as choking her, and then eventually raped her. And after raping her, he took her to where she wanted to go. She's filed a police report, and from one story I read that Nilu Jalanti has gotten involved in this as well. Good for her on this case. And the police are helping to offer her services, both for physical injuries as well as emotional and psychological trauma. And Grab apparently is paying the bill for anything that she needs in order to get better. As I said, the police have made a call for the suspect to give himself up, and if not, well, it's not going to be pleasant for him once they catch him. Okay, and tourist behaving badly, this time a Korean tourist, in a kind of a strange story here. In the aftermath of the acts of Korean tourists, PHDI requests temples not to be made as a tourist attraction. A South Korean tourist, YN, was detained by the police for damaging equipment at Goa Raja Temple in Besakih in Karangasem. The Parisada Hindu Dharma Indonesia, PHDI, in Karangasem condemned the actions of the South Korean citizen. Apparently she damaged a number of temple artifacts such as umbrellas, traditional offerings, and the cloth attached to the palingi. The chairman of the Karangasem Regency PHDI highlighted the temple as a tourist attraction. According to him, many tourists act up while visiting a temple. He said, we, the management of PHDI, strongly disagree if temples are used as tourism sites because temples are places that we should purify. He said, however, if temples are going to be used as tourism objects, there needs to be strict rules regarding the use of temples. He said he hopes that there will be clear boundaries set at each temple. And I thought this was already taken care of, but apparently not all temples. He said, I hope that supervisors and tourist companions will be more stringent in supervising tourists visiting the temple so that they are not free to carry out inappropriate activities or actions. Apparently, the Korean tourist damaged the artifacts at the temple around 6:30 in the evening. Her actions were discovered by local residents who immediately reported them to the police. Based on the initial examination, she said that she received a magical whisper to come to Singaraja temple and vandalize it. Sounds like another mental health problem. And of course, she'll end up being deported. Whether she's going to spend some time in jail, I don't know. Apparently, purification ceremonies have already taken place to repair the damage that the Korean tourist did. And in last week's news video, I talked about the problem with getting the small canisters of LPG, of gas. Pertamina raised voice about foreigners using Melon gas, they call it Melon gas here, in Bali. It was hard to find the 3-kilogram LPG canisters in Bali in anticipation of the Galangan and Kuningan holidays. The Melon gas, as I call it, is good because easy to carry, the price is affordable, and apparently it's in demand by foreigners who are in Bali. According to a member of Commission 6 of the Republic of Indonesia, DPR, he said that foreign nationals here buy subsidized LPG of the 3 kilograms in Bali. He said foreigners who have their own houses, villas, cottages actually take advantage of these. He said, I've seen this myself in the field. According to him, it's estimated that foreigners who are buying subsidized LPG buy it because sellers are reluctant to argue with the foreigners when they see the canisters and they want to buy them. The sellers aren't going to argue. Whether they tell them that, well, that these canisters are for poor people, I don't know. According to him, the canisters have it written on the canister that is for poor people. I don't know, I haven't taken a look at one recently. He said, foreigners don't need to do this because, well, they've got businesses here, or they can afford to take a vacation in Bali, or they can afford to live here, so their finances are sufficient. The LPG, the 3 kg LPG, is only intended for the poor who deserve to receive subsidies from the government. He said the agents who supply these canisters must be firm in directing foreigners to buy the 5.5 kg tanks. Additionally, people who buy these are required to register in the form of a KK and NIK number so that later Pertamina can be held accountable for those who buy subsidized gas. According to the data, there are 108,000 people who are registered to be able to buy these, and the numbers are expected to continue to grow. And some local news. It was a few years ago that they built this enormous market. They took the old market, destroyed it over by Banyuasri, and they built this new, huge market. And I have a video, a drone video, looking down at it. I was able to get there. I was pretty impressed that my drone could get all the way over there without getting lost. Anyway, I was going to go over there, but I never did because my wife said, forget it. Everything is empty. There's nobody really selling anything there. It's too expensive. She said this 2 years ago. Well, guess what? She was right. Banyuasri market, kiosk, even many empty. Many of the stalls lined up on the second floor of Banyuasri market are still empty, even though the grandest market in Buleleng has been operating since 2 years ago. Not only is the condition of the traders quiet, the visitors who come to the market are not as busy as before it was revitalized. The condition is also a frequent complaint from market traders. The building was inaugurated March 30th, 2021, just over 2 years ago. According to the Hanura faction of the Bulang DPRD, through its spokesperson Pak Gooday, he said that the sluggishness of the economic cycle in Banyuasri market has been felt by the government. The government has been asked to maximize management to find a way to solve the problem so that this building, which cost hundreds of billions of rupiahs, is not redundant. The managing director of Perum de Pasar Harga Nayutama Bulang, wow, that's a mouthful, said separately that the Banyuasri market's occupancy was indeed not optimal. He said only 54% are full, and that people who have a little kiosk there, they're starting to give theirs up because they just can't afford to keep them. They're not getting enough business to be able to afford the rent. He said, we've been issuing warning letters and we've made every effort, such as giving opportunity to pay in installments if someone wants a new registration. But so far, nobody's taking up that opportunity. And so with new people not wanting to come in and the people that are currently there wanting to get out, it does not look good for the market. And if you remember, I talked about this maybe 6 months ago. The government was talking about putting some government center there, kind of like a one-stop shopping thing for government activities, government facilities. It hasn't happened yet. And so this happens sometimes when you build these things and, well, you know, the old movie, if you build it, they'll come. Well, in some cases, they won't come. People like the old market, apparently. It was a lot cheaper.